out and get fit this summer. It's been a long sedentary year. So
That's excellent. That's really excellent. Okay. I think we're ready for the next slide. Okay, membership basics. So this is similar, but even better than it was before in a way. We have the member hours we used to have a different way of describing member hours, but it's pretty simple now. You can access the Boathouse from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. 7 days a week. So there's an alarm that keeps the Boathouse secure overnight, and the Boathouse will be disarmed, or the alarm will be disarmed at 6 a.m. and will be rearmed at 7 p.m. So all equipment's got to be returned, and you got to be out of the building by 7 p.m. because that's when the alarm gets set. We recognize that the days are getting longer, and so we're going to work with the city to see if we can get the 7 p.m. pushed back to 7:30 or maybe 8 even, so that people can have more time to get to the Boathouse after work and maybe get out on the water a little longer. But no promises yet because we're kind of just reactivating the Boathouse. We have new people from the city, not me, for example, running the alarm system. Like, it took me a while, but I figured out how to work the alarms, and I got it running. But now people from the city who have, haven't spent much time in the building are responsible for this. So they're trying to get it sorted out. Hopefully we'll get it moved to 7:30 or 8, but right now it's 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. So don't try to go in the building before 6 a.m. Check your phone and look at the time on your phone. That's probably the best one to look at. Don't try to unlock the door before 6 a.m. Using your card, and make sure you're out of the building by 7 p.m. But this is 7 days a week, so plenty of time to get down there and have activity. And like we already talked about, we only have access to the boat bays right now. But we've got our boats, we've got the rowing machines. You can take the rowing machines outside onto the platform and do your erging outside. And again, there will be a key kept inside the boat bay that you can use if you need to walk over to the pier building to use the bathrooms there. Remember that with respect to going on the water, we have what's called a 2-vessel rule. And this is something that's super important, which is no single boat goes out on its own. You got to get a partner that's got to have a willingness to go out in a boat when you go out. So this really creates, quite a bit of safety. If 2 boats are out on the water, one person gets in trouble, the other person can respond by helping. They can respond by calling 911. They can respond by calling, somebody at the dock, but there's always somebody else that can help. So, but when you're on your own, there's nobody else that can help, and it's way, way more risky to be out there. So the 2-vessel rule is something that we've had from the beginning, even maybe 5 or 6 years ago when we were at the Quinnipiac River Marina, and we have it now, but it really helps to keep people safe. So it can be 2 rowing shells, it can be a rowing shell and a kayak, as long as you stay within sight and earshot of each other. And as applies, as I think we'll see in some of the other rules, the other thing that we want people to do is make sure you take your cell phone out on the water with you, because that's how you can, make a call to 911 or to somebody else to let somebody know that another vessel on the water is in trouble, for example. Okay. So we have a pre-boating checklist. This is not just 1, 2, 3, and 4. I think it goes down to number 8. So bear with me here as we go. The first thing you should do is be checking the weather. And the best thing to do is check the weather even before you leave home, because if you don't and you get to the Boathouse and then you check the weather there, you might find that it's not rowable conditions, or there's a storm coming in any minute and there's not enough time to launch. So check the weather beforehand. And this is being done by boat club members across the country now, because we have access to these incredible weather apps. So you don't have to turn on the TV to check the weather. You can check it while you're getting out of bed and find out if it's appropriate. So check the weather before you leave home. And then of course, check it again when you arrive, just to make sure that things haven't changed, like the forecast for the winds to go from 5 miles an hour to 15 miles per hour while you're on the water. That would be a dangerous situation. So check the weather, and then in particular, check the wind and check the tides. So for example, checking the tide means if the tide is going out, then one of the mistakes that somebody might make is when they launch their boat, they row out into the harbor with the tide. So now you're going out and you're rowing down, to a beautiful part of the harbor, but you've got the tide moving with you. So you're going much faster than you think relative to the shore. And when it comes time to turn around, now you've got to row against the tide or paddle a kayak against the tide to get back. And if you had an appointment at 9 and you think, oh, I'm going to just row back and make my appointment, and all of a sudden you find out it's going to take you twice as long to get back, well, that's when people start getting frustrated, angry because they're going to be late for their appointment, and then nervous because they're not making much progress against the tide. And that's when people start to, make a mistake and do something that gets them into trouble. So that's why it's really important to check the tide and know, in addition to the wind, and the weather, like what the conditions are that you're facing when you're getting ready to go out on the water, and make sure that you have an appropriate strategy before going out. Sometimes the right strategy is, the conditions just aren't appropriate for rowing. I'm going to change my mind and just pull an erg out onto the platform and do that instead. This is something that's done in number 2, done in rowing clubs across the country, is you register your float plan in the logbook. So there's a book, this is number 3 now, of course, there's a book on the shelf, and you're supposed to write your name, the boat you're taking, the time you leave, where you're going, and then when you come back, you also put your time back in when you've returned, so people can know that you've made it. But something new that, and this is something that's actually going to be really helpful. People might find it cumbersome, but it's a really helpful thing, that we want to actually send your float plan by email and by text message to these 3 people: the harbor master, John Izzo, the City of New Haven Director of Emergency Operations, Rick Fontana, and then Hollis, of course, our Executive Director. What's great about this, even though you might find it cumbersome, although I think as soon as people figure out how to voice, command their float plan quickly into a text message, have these 3 phone numbers in your address book, and have a text message that you've already sent once, it should populate all 3 names very quickly. And then to just copy and paste the same float plan into an email and then do the same thing again. This will let really important people know all the information that we want them to know about people going on the water. And what's really great, one of the great things about this is that John Izzo and Rick Fontana want this information, and that they're willing to accept this information, multiple times on a daily basis. Because what this means is that we've taken the precautions, our members have taken the precautions, they've given the information to the harbor master and the director of emergency operations. And what this means is that if something goes wrong and somebody on the water calls 911, and then Rick Fontana or John Izzo, somebody responds and somebody is rescued, we can say all these protocols we have in place actually work, and somebody was rescued. And what it means is that we can just most likely what it means is we can just continue on with the same activity, because our emergency, our flow plan and the way we register our flow plans are actually effective in actually saving people. If we weren't doing it this way, and somebody just writes their flow plan in the logbook, and then they go out on the water, they get in trouble, they call for help, 911, Coast Guard, the police, somebody else responds, then we'd be coming back to the boathouse, and the people might be saying, what went wrong here? Let's suspend all activities until we can figure out how to make sure this doesn't happen again. But because we're getting this information to the right people, I think it really kind of enables the operations to keep running, and we'll be able to say things are working as they're supposed to work. Safety protocols are working, rescues are happening as they're supposed to happen. And it doesn't mean that we need to start over and figure out something else. What it'll mean is our policies are working. So it might be a little bit cumbersome at first, but it's actually going to make sure that we have consistent and well-run operations going onward, into the season and to the next year, for example. Okay, so I already talked about outgoing tides. Do not initiate an outing in a southerly direction, which is towards Shag Bank, without consideration of the return effort required. Very important thought. Okay, continue with your pre-boating. There is no public access to the dock currently because the boathouse is closed. So the only access to the dock right now, meaning the ramp and the launching dock, is for Canal Dock members and programs and our partners. So the gate's going to stay locked essentially 24/7, other than when you're actively taking boats down onto the dock. So you can unlock the gate, take your boats down, put your boats in the water, get ready to launch. But if nobody else is launching after you, if you're the only one, you and a partner are the only one going out, you need to lock the gate behind you such that the public and no one else will be coming down onto the dock. So essentially the gate is locked all the time, other than when you're actively taking your boat down or when you're taking your boat out. But otherwise the gate needs to be locked. Carrying a mobile phone, as I already talked about, this is super important, especially with respect to our 2-vessel rule. It enables somebody who's not in trouble to call 911 to help somebody who might be in trouble. Okay, and whether that's somebody that's fallen in the water or they have broken equipment or the wind is pushing them across to the other side of the harbor, a cell phone enables us to respond quickly. Life vests, everybody, I think, probably recalls that we've had this rule from the beginning. We have regular or kind of standard PFDs for people that are kayaking or going in the dragon boat when the dragon boat goes out again. And then we have self-inflate vests for the oars people. Everyone needs to take one of these. When you're taking your equipment out onto the platform or down onto the dock, it's important to keep the boat bays secure. There's a lot of equipment in the boat bays where people that are not familiar with boathouses and boat bays and rowing shells and oars and things like that can get hurt. Somebody that's a member of the public can see the boat bay door open, they can walk inside and they can think, oh, what are these oars like? And reach up and grab one of the big sweep oars and have it fall out of the rack and bonk them on the head. Or they can be walking around and hit their head on a rigger from a rowing shell, and some of the ends of the riggers are really sharp edges and you could get a nasty cut on your forehead. So keeping the boat bays secure while you're getting ready to go on the water is really important. So during pre-boating, that means while you're getting your equipment and taking it out onto the platform or out onto the dock, making sure that members of the public aren't wandering around inside. And then of course, when you head out onto the water, the boat bay needs, if you're you and your partner are the only 2 people, you got to close the boat bay door behind you. That means you're wearing your lanyard and you've got your membership card, which is your key card access to the boat bay door or to the door next to the boat bay. You've got those things with you. So the boathouse is locked up when you're out on the water. Okay, when you get back, you should, the last text message and the last email you will have sent will be to these 2 groups of people, letting them know that you are safely back in the boathouse. So I think a shorter message, maybe people can, so Hollis, maybe there's something to think about this. Maybe people can name their outing, you know, the John and Donna outing or something like that, you know, going out at 7 a.m. and we could get back and just say, John and Donna have returned. And it could be something even shorter and quicker to be able to get that message back to the same people that we sent to when we left for the dock.
Yeah, I think that's a good standard, John and Donna, and just let them know what color shell or kayak that you've taken out too.
Yeah,
You know,
something
just
like that, right?
yeah.
This outing, you know, that the outing that launched at exactly whatever time is now returned, something like that.
Yeah.
We share this equipment. This is a rowing club, and everybody wants to come down and find clean oars, clean rowing shells, and well taken care of equipment when it's their turn to go on the water. So that means when we finish our outings, and that includes kayaks and kayak paddles, these things are cleaned thoroughly when you're done so that it's in really good shape for the next person to take it out. This makes everybody happier when they go down for their row because they're grabbing onto a nice, you know, well taken care of piece of equipment, and it makes the boats last longer as well. With respect to the logbook, same thing happens with respect to, just like in number 1. In the logbook, it's a little bit easier though, because you'll already have put your outing in the logbook. And now all you're doing is putting your time in when you return. So now the logbook, your outing in the logbook will now be complete when you put your return time back in there. Again, when you're coming in and out, bringing your equipment from the dock and up to the platform and then rinsing it and then putting it into the boat bays. This is another time when members of the public can start wandering around. Try to keep an eye on that. And if people are wandering around inside, maybe you can introduce yourself and let them know something about membership, but also escort them out of the boat bays, letting them know that there's a lot of sharp edges in there and it's kind of dangerous to walk around if you don't know what you're doing. And then the last thing before you leave, take a look down on the dock, look around on the platform, make sure you've got everything inside before you close up. And then when you close the boat bays, this is a really good point, which I didn't have in there before. Make sure there's no visitors inside before you lock the doors. I suppose somebody could sneak in and be hiding somewhere inside the boat bay for who knows why. I suppose a sharp homeless person might be somebody who's thinking about getting into the boat bay, hiding in the back, and then when the doors get closed, they've got a nice, cozy, warm place for overnight. I think we need to make sure, unfortunately, that even homeless people are out as well. So you need to probably do a quick visual sweep to make sure that the boat bays are secure. Okay, I guess we're at the end. We've got, where are we? 5:56. So we have at least 3 or 4 minutes for questions. I've probably got a few more minutes than that if anybody has any questions or anything they want to chat about. Hey, Sean.
John, the lock for the gate to the dock, how is that opened and closed?
It's a combination lock. So okay. I think at some point, either tonight or by email, Hollis will send the combination to all the members, or at least everybody. I think you're going to wait and only give it to people who, after they attend the video call, right, Hollis?
Exactly. So you guys will all get the combination locks. You'll get the combination lock to the gate and the one to the cage, so you can access the key to the pier building if you need it. I'm going to put a lockbox in the cage. I'm not going to lock it with the key to the pier building. That will also have the key to the gate, or the combination to the gate, in there in case you forget it or you don't feel like searching through your email for it. So,
okay.
I keep it in my phone under the person I named Canal Dock Ramp Lock.
One question for me, if you don't mind. Are there any time limits as far as outings go? If we were to take out maybe some of the singles or an 8?
So the 8s are, the only 8s that are really going out, John, are the ones, the Elgrad crew. So the time limit is really for you guys to control. I think, longer outings, the longer your outing is, the more at risk you are of the weather changing. So that's something to think about with respect to a long outing. But right now we don't have any time limits because, we're kind of regrowing the club again. And we didn't have time limits initially because we were still just kind of building up before we got shut down by the pandemic. So, but I think that we do ask that, and Hollis, correct me if I'm wrong, for people to register their outing, like if you're going to go down and take out one of the Zephyrs, and you might say, I'm going to go down and, or, me and Susan or whatever are going to go down and take out Zephyr number 1 and Zephyr number 2, and we're going out at 8 a.m. You have to register that in a Google Sheet, I believe, Hollis, is that right? Before?
Yes. So Linda, actually, I'm glad that Linda's on the first call. Linda's been working on like a sort of an equipment checkout form for us. And again, I'll communicate that link to all of you guys, or maybe even just a whole shared folder. And you can reserve the night prior, 24 hours in advance. You can reserve, a shell or 2 if you and, somebody else are going out. And, we'll have it blocked off. I think we have it in hour blocks, right, Linda? You did it in hour blocks? So they'll be blocked off in hour blocks. So we ask that you do it, at least a day before, just so for courtesy of everybody else. But yeah, so we're going to have a Google Sheet that we're going to use as just a way to reserve equipment. That said, as the membership grows, we might be looking into a software app, but we're a pretty small club right now, so.
Which is a good thing, because that means you're gonna, for more often than not, when you try to reserve equipment, you're gonna get it. So I know some clubs, it's hard to get reserve equipment because there's so many members. But the other thing I would say, John, is that I think we're like, keeping out, like, there's not too many people that want to go out and row for more than like an hour and a half. I mean, occasionally some people do. But I would say, like, if you just look at what you've signed up for, and if prior to going out, nobody has signed up for the same boat for the following hour, like when you're getting to go out, and I think you should be able to check that on your phone to see, then to me, that means you could stay out longer than 1 hour. Because people are supposed to do it in advance. And so if when you're getting ready to go out, or an hour before you go out, let's say, or when you're rolling out of bed, getting ready to go down to the boathouse, and you look and you could see that here you are an hour beforehand, nobody has signed up for your boat, for the following hour, then I would say that means you can go out for longer. So an hour and 15, an hour and a half, an hour and 45, probably 2 hours, because people are supposed to do that. So, so I think that's okay. But I would just say, again, keep in mind that, like, if you're going to go towards the harbor, if you're going to row south, you can go a long way in an hour. And I'm not sure I would go. I think what I would do is I'd go, down, back, and then maybe upstream and then back, and kind of, instead of getting myself an hour away, an hour of rowing distance away from the boathouse, thinking I'm going to do a 2-hour outing, I would get myself 30 minutes away, come back to the boathouse, and then maybe do it again in a different direction, or just repeat it, because it's getting further away from the boathouse just means, the bigger trouble you can be in if you're of some problem of broken equipment or a broken oar happens when you're an hour away. That's a long way away from the boathouse. There's not many places where you can row, where you can get yourself an hour of rowing away from your boathouse. But if you went into the harbor, you could here, and I wouldn't go any more than going in that direction much further than 30 minutes. So anyway.
So this is Fred with a question, and I'm planning to be kayaking and to have a simple low-key kayak in the boathouse. So question, is the Google Sheet a great way to coordinate for managing the 2-boat rule? I can imagine coming up on a beautiful day, today comes to mind, thinking I would be happy to paddle for any hour. And I'm wondering if anybody's out there. Is that a way that people coordinate the 2-boat rule, or are there better ways that I haven't thought about?
I think, so Hollis, I was working on this right before the pandemic, which was an app that I learned from one of the Yale grad crew members called, I think it's called GroupMe. John, maybe is it called GroupMe? Where you just put all members into like a group, or let's say all members who are have any interest in kayaking into a group. And then through this app, Fred, you can just, a day or a week or whatever, an hour in advance, just say this, to the group, weather looks amazing. Who wants to go kayak? I'm ready to go down there. And hopefully through that, and I think that, certainly a group of rowers should only have rowers in it, because there's some people who kayak who cannot row because they've never rowed and they might not be interested in rowing and they haven't taken lessons yet. But I would say that for now, all of our rowers, anybody who can row, is also capable of kayaking. And I would say maybe you just put everybody on a group for, kayak capable people. And I bet, Fred, if you said, I'm going to go down and kayak, who wants to go? And it went to everybody, you might get somebody like John or Sean or whoever, like rowers who are like, that sounds great. I want to go down and kayak. So that GroupMe app, I think, is probably, to my knowledge, that's the best way and the quickest way to do something like that and to get a partner.
So we'll look into GroupMe, getting everybody on GroupMe so that you can all coordinate.
Yeah, I think that's the way to do it. Maybe Hollis, you can check in with one of the GroupMe pros with Yale grad crew and get it set up really quickly, I bet.
See, and Arita's camera's off, so I went immediately to John. You should have shut your camera off, but maybe we can schedule a time to have a quick call about GroupMe, and you can fill me in.
Yeah, I'm still doing building it admittedly myself. So yeah, happy to go through it.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, last year we used Team Up for something. I don't remember what. I tried to log in and probably because the account was inactive so long, I can't get back in. But we were registering boats that way last year too, weren't we? Through Team Up?
That's right, Donna. We used Team Up
This
last
was-
year, or for a couple of years, we were using Team Up, and but we were using it back when it was a free app.
Ah,
And then as they got better, all of a sudden they withdrew their free version, and
okay.
so now we're using a Google Sheet, I guess, which is still free and
Free.
maybe will always be free. So Team Up is gone as far as I can tell, right, Alice? No.
Okay.
We might revisit Team Up. We were looking at a few different apps like Team Up, iRow. There was a couple others that other boat clubs are looking, or that are other boat clubs are using. I think a best short-term solution is the Google Sheet for now. And a best free solution is the Google Sheet. But again, as more members start to join, as we need something a little more sophisticated, we might go back to Team Up.
Okay, I deleted it. Put some room on my phone. But for people who are rowing, new members who are rowing, they need to go through some type of test before they could take out shells, correct?
Yes.
Yeah,
Any new rowers need to either, they could be experienced rowers and they just do a clearing session with an experienced member or a coach, or if they're new to rowing, they need to take lessons. But of course, the best way to do that now is through Top Row, one of our partners. They're essentially giving rowing lessons in groups, and they're doing it in singles now, and one person shells, ocean, or like similar to the Zephyrs. And sometime soon, I think they're going to start doing these outings in 4-person boats. So that's a great place to take your first, I don't know, how many lessons do they have, Hollis? 5 or?
I think it's an 8-week course, isn't it, Mel? Oh, there's Mel. She can answer.
Right.
Yeah, so the courses are all 8-week blocks. The next one starts the week of July 5th. And so it'd be 8 weeks, coming the same day, same time every week. And we're gonna start with the 4-person boats for the July class as well. We normally don't love sticking novices in singles, but with COVID, we had to do that for the May and June classes.
okay.
So that's
Great.
where I would point new people is to take their, do their 8 outings with Top Row. And it could be that after those 8 outings, they're ready to be cleared by us. And then if they want to be a member and start taking out Zephyrs on, not on their own, but, with another vessel, I think that's the way to do it.
Okay. When does this all begin?
You folks have gone through this clearing session, and all of you, I know some of you are paddlers, most of you are rowers. I will be down at the Boathouse Saturday morning and Sunday morning, and I'm gonna double check to make sure I have passes for all of you, but the city is the ones who are issuing the passes right now. And I think I do have passes for almost everybody on this list. So I'll come on down and I'll give you your pass and you can start to go out, on Saturday if you want, Sunday, Monday. We do have a community day on Sunday if anybody's interested in coming down and volunteering or just checking it out. Sorry. I have a 3-year-old and 2 dogs. It's the most amazing place. But yeah, as soon as you go through this, as soon as a member goes through the clearing session, I'll have a key card all ready for you and we can start. John did allude to clearing sessions. We do have some new members who have rowing experience, and I'm hopeful that some of our existing members will volunteer to go through a clearing session with the new members just to ensure that they are appropriate to be on the water. We have a few new members who have rowing experience, so the more the merrier. the more people who are members, the more rowing partners you folks have. So anyone who's interested in helping out in that capacity, just shoot me an email, let me know.
Great.
You want to, if anybody wants to bring a new member in, by the way, they can, if they want to know what kind of boats we row, you can send them to the Pinert website. It's pinert.com/Zephyr. And you can tell them that the person in the picture in the Zephyr rowing shell displaying unbelievably incredible technique is one of our own members on this phone call right now.
Really?
Yes, Linda, that's Linda. Linda is front and center on this website in one of our rowing shells, just crushing it in a Zephyr essentially. And she is the ad for Zephyr right now.
Linda, you didn't tell me that you were a celebrity. I had no idea.
It's such an awesome picture. So I think I actually took it.
Yeah, that's why it's really good, right? I don't know that, I didn't know it was still up there.
It's still up there. You are blazing the trail for the Zephyr advertisement. It's almost time for you to start requesting royalties. Okay, anybody else? Okay, I think we're good, Hollis.
All right, great. Thank you all for joining us today. If you can't make it down to the Boathouse this weekend, shoot me an email. I'm gonna be down there at some point tomorrow and at some point on Friday, so I can possibly meet you folks to give you your new key cards. If you have your old key card, bring it back to me and we'll just roll over your deposit. If you lost your old key card, we're gonna need another $20 deposit. So, and I think that's it.
Great.
Yeah, if you have any questions, just feel free to email me, and when I can't answer them, I will forward them over to John. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.
Hey, good night, everybody.
Bye. Good
Bye.
seeing you all. Bye-bye.
Good seeing you
Take
all.
care.